What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the cab of the service truck. What are we working on today?
All right, so we've got a c4.4 compound turbo setup, and today we're going to be working on that guy.
All right, so the original complaint was fault code and D-rate. Came out here for low intake manifold pressure. Taking a look at all the obvious stuff. You want to check your air filter. You want to check all your air-to-air cooler boots and hoses, clamps, all that. Test the intercooler. Now, I tested this thing under a load by stalling it, and basically we seen that it would hit roughly about 27 psi, and then it would fall on its face and then try to recover. Now, I took the wastegate line off, the reference off of that, after checking everything, obviously, and found that roughly we would hit about 32, 33 psi under stall, and that was consistent, which then at that point threw the alternative code, which was the intake manifold pressure high. So there you go. Now you know what your threshold is. So tested the wastegate, and well, under about 4 psi, 5 psi, it would start to actually move the rod. Roughly about 8 psi is when we should actually see a millimeter of travel on the wastegate actuator. So for the most part, we had a bad wastegate. So we're going to go and replace that, and then I'll show you guys further testing with the tooling and everything needed to set the wastegate. Okay, so first things first, you want to install your tooling. This guy right here. Adjust it to about 13 to 15 psi. And then the rod should extend if it's not blown out, obviously. And you should be able to take that clip off right there. And then you can go ahead and start disassemble. And then we'll do the reassemble, and I'll show you guys how we're going to preset this. All right, so here's your new one versus your old one, fully assembled before it goes installed. Now what you want to do is you want to install these backing nuts loosely, because we may have to apply shims. Now if you look at the original one right here, no shims are applied, but we want to go ahead and double check that by just applying about 7.93 psi to the backside of the wastegate, and we'll check travel and make sure that everything is within spec. And also, the part number has changed multitude of times, but this is the most current wastegate actuator part number. It has changed multiple times, like I said, and this is the updated one, fixing a lot of the C7.1 and c4.4 issues. So now that it's all installed, as you guys can see there, you got your clip back on. Go ahead and pressurize it again to roughly about 13 psi. And then at that point, if everything's loose here, you'll realize you've established a gap. Now they give you shims in this kit in order for you to shim that gap. Now essentially what you're trying to do is validate that this rod does not move until 9 psi. Now up until that point, if it moves at 8, then you got to keep messing with your shims. Now again, they do have a feeler gauge spec, and I will put that on the screen there for you guys, but for the most part, it's kind of trial by error. Okay, so here's our finished product, and we've got what looks like 2 larger shims and then a medium duty shim. I can put feeler gauges on that, but you guys can grasp the concept there. That's what we're going to start out with, and if you guys can watch the rod, watch the turnbuckle here. Start raising it, and we're trying to get a little bit of travel right about there, right about there. And right now we're about 9-10 psi, so we may have to do a little bit more manipulation, but for the most part, that's how you set them. There is a torque spec for obviously everything here. You don't want to go apeshit crazy torquing these down. But that's the ins and outs. We're going to hook ET up to it and see what our pressure looks like. So the part number for the kit for wastegate testing is 215-2592, and you get everything that's included in this kit right here. Except for that, you got to kind of add the hose to it. And that's everything you get right there, guys. All right, so right here we got ET hooked up. So I'm going to just check a couple parameters. So we've got air inlet temperature, boost pressure to the right, and engine speed. What I like to do essentially is I want to go ahead and lift this thing up, and then I want to go ahead and curl the bucket in, and we're monitoring boost pressure. With curl in, we're going to go ahead and give it all she's got up, let off of it, and then get back on it. All right,
right, so we're gonna try this again. So we're gonna go ahead and boom up, and we're gonna go ahead and stick in, and let's see what we get here. Off, back on, about 25. Trying it again, sorry. Trying to do this two-handed here. 25, 26, a lot more consistent, 27. I think we're good to go, guys.
All right, guys, so you see how everything was basically installed, the procedure to go ahead and set everything up, as well as the testing procedure that I use. Essentially, what you're trying to do is you want to see how much load you can create on the engine and see what your boost pressure is at and how it's maintaining boost pressure. Before, it would hit like high 27, 28, 29 psi for a brief second, and then it would just drop to like 17 to 20, and then it would try to push itself back out. So I would say as of right now, it's way more consistent and never threw an over spool code or over boost code or an under boost code during the whole time I ran the machine. So we're going to go ahead and call that a fix. Do what you guys always do. Like, share, subscribe. Pete Pump the World. I'll see you guys in the next video.